Hello and welcome to today's event. My name is Brenda Holt and I'm the Associate State Director of Community Outreach for the Arizona State Office of AARP. We are the nation's largest nonprofit, nonpartisan organization dedicated to empowering people 50 and older to choose how they live as they age. With a nationwide presence and nearly 38 million members across the nation and over 900,000 right here in Arizona, AARP strengthens communities and advocates for what matters most to families, such as health security, financial stability, and personal fulfillment. During the month of September, we will be focusing on thriving in the job market, where we will showcase AARP's relevance as a wise friend and a fierce defender, helping workers find a job while fighting on their behalf against ageism. We will provide tips, advice, and resources to help you stay competitive in today's job market and to mitigate the impact that the coronavirus pandemic has had on employment and income. Navigating today's ever-changing job market can be tough, but we're here to help you through it. Please visit us at aarp.org/work for tips, tools, and resources on how to stay competitive in the job market. You can also visit us at aarp.org/AZ to find out other activities and events that are being provided by the Arizona State Office. Again, we'd like to thank you for joining us today, and we hope you enjoy this event.
Folks, welcome to the show. Get ready to meet your host for the night, Arizona's very own hip historian himself, Marshall Shore.
Well, hello, everybody. Good evening. I want to welcome you all. Oh my gosh, I'm so happy you can join us on this lovely September 23rd. Now, I know some of you are watching out there on Facebook, YouTube, and even a couple of you are out there watching on Twitch as well. So, I always like to start off with kind of a little bit of, what's going on today, September 23rd. Well, one of the things I think that's really cool is back in 1927, Charles Lindbergh, who had literally just flown across the Atlantic Ocean, was on September 23rd down in Tucson because he was dedicating the first municipal-owned airport in the entire U.S. down in Tucson. It was named the Davis Monathan Field. And it was named for two pilots who had gone down in separate plane crashes during World War I. That airport no longer exists, but it is where the rodeo grounds is down there today. It is also National Pot Pie Month. So, I think it's probably a little too warm for pot pie quite yet here in Arizona. But, soon it will be time for a lovely little baked pie goodness with gravy and all kinds of good stuff in it. So looking forward to those days. It is also Teal Talk, which is a day where it's to raise awareness of ovarian cancer and the almost 250,000 women who are diagnosed annually with it. Now, it is also Bi Visibility Day, celebrating the bisexual community, history, and, so today is also International Sign Language Day. So we're celebrating sign language as they use it within their own communities, their culture, and their language. And, one of the really cool things is when I was talking to our guests earlier, Linda Bove. Now, some of you may not know that name, but she was a sign language interpreter on Sesame Street. She now lives here. I've not spotted her yet, but now I'm going to be on the lookout for Linda Bove. So I think that's a really cool thing to celebrate for National Sign Language Day. So thank you all so much for joining us today. Now, what can you expect? Well, you know, we're going to do some trivia. We always talk about a little Arizona town. We do some Arizona music history, a little bit of show and tell, of course, a beverage, as well as an amazing guest. So if this is your first time here, you might be wondering, who is that man on my screen and why is he there? Well, you know, I got to Arizona a little over 21 years ago. I was working in a library in Brooklyn. Actually, it was this beautiful Carnegie building right there. I was in Brooklyn for about a decade and then decided it was time for an adventure. So I traded that library for a 1950 library down in South Phoenix. They are now in a beautiful Richard and Bauer building just south of Buckeye. But there was this rich oral tradition of the community. And that's one of the influences that kept me kind of going what I'm doing right now. Then we promptly moved into a beautiful 1956 ranch. Now, when we moved in, it was oh so many tones of beige. I'm happy to say now it is much more simplified, just 1, 2, seafoam and cantaloupe. Now, there's what my kitchen looks like today. All that original buttercream yellow tile, the matching in-the-wall oven, even the push buttons inset in the wall for the matching stovetop. So the house is pretty much a time capsule. Now, as soon as we got here, all I kept hearing about how there was no history here. But you know, I found out that was not true. Every time I would go for an adventure, whether it was close to home or far flung, I kept running into so many amazing people, places, and stories. And then there's that post-war boom that I think made the Arizona that we all know and love today. All those GIs that either were stationed here, trained here, or passed on the way to somewhere else. And after the war, they were moving here in huge numbers. So my name is Marshall Shore. I'm also known as the Hip Historian, which means I get to have a lot of fun with Arizona history. So if any of you got your AARP newsletter, this month you found a little blurb talking about just what we're doing every Thursday night and have been since last March. Doing this Arizona History Upper. We have some Haunted Phoenix tours coming up that are actually walking tours. We did one this month. Next one will be on October 2nd. And you can find out more about those on hiphistorian.com. And then we also have one bus tour, and that is for October 23rd, starting at noon. You can find more information about that right where I just said, hiphistorian.com. And we're putting together another event down at the Pioneer Cemetery that is going to be honoring our ancestors. So just starting to put that together now. So hopefully we'll get information up about that soon. Now, it's also, next month is the 90th anniversary of probably one of the most infamous crimes in Arizona, Winnie Ruth Judd and the Trunk murders. And so trying to put together a fun event. I just have a couple more things to put in place before I can say, hey, here's what's happening. But it's going to be pretty dang cool. Also, coming up next month, I am going to be down at the Desert Botanical Gardens. They are doing Strange Gardens. And so I am going to be there sharing some kind of haunted stories of Arizona on October 22nd and 23rd. They wanted me to come in on a Thursday night, but you know, I'm a little busy on a Thursday night, so wasn't able to do that. We are kicking off our LGBT Story Circle on November 13th, so be sure and keep an eye out for that. There'll be more information coming out. And next week, I'm so excited. We are going to be doing a program down in Goodyear. We're going to look at kind of the history of Goodyear as they celebrate a big anniversary and talk about some of the mid-century spectacular things that are there. So that is going to be Tuesday evening. So, and a brand new rec center that, oh my gosh, has this pool that with this big slide that I don't think they'll let me go in. Maybe they'll let me go in after the program. I should. Well, I can always ask. The worst they could do is say no. And also early next month, I should find out if the Emmy we're up for the story about Nikolai Duralin, if that actually wins an Emmy, which it's nominated for. So keep your fingers crossed. I'm still trying to find out when and where I can view it. So I would love to watch that. All right. So I know some of you have found the chat session off to the side. Now, if you find after the show, you want to reach out and say something, you can reach out on Facebook, Instagram, email, because I love to hear from you all. That's where I find my best stories, my best information is from you guys saying, hey, did you know about this? I'll be like, oh my gosh, no, I didn't. I mean, all right. So now I will ask, if you're watching on Facebook, if you can click on share, because we're going to have an amazing evening of just talking about some cool Arizona history. So, I talk about being from New York, but I actually grew up in a little tiny town in Indiana. And so with that, I wanted to highlight some of the small towns around Arizona. And so today we are going to talk about Cleater, Arizona. Now, the town of Cleater itself was originally established as Turkey Creek back in 1864. It was pretty much a gold mine, not much more than that. It then grew, and there was a railroad put in. You can still see elements of that. But then in the mid-20s, the town became known as Cleater, for a James Cleater who took it over. And the family, I think, still owns it. It actually was up for sale. We were just talking about that. So I don't know if Cleater has sold or not, but somebody may own Cleater. Now, you'll find it if you're on your way to Crown King, you'll have to drive right through the middle of it. And you'll find that you can still find elements of those old mines hanging out around there. Now, as population started to dwindle, eventually the railroad was kind of taken out, but it's having a resurgence of people now. It's like there are people who now live in Crown King year round. So at the bar, that doesn't seat that many, but you'll find ATVs full of people who are hanging out there. And as of last year, they had a total of 8 residents. So it's a booming metropolis, because before that it was 0. So they are just growing by leaps and bounds. And so one of the cool things about doing this is we're going to be able to show a little video that Mirelle made. So I was so happy to be able to show that, because that shoot looked like so much fun. And Cleater really is kind of a cool little town. So if you get a chance to go drive through, stop at the bar, have a drink, I would say you should. Now, it would not be a happy hour if there was not a beverage. So, and indeed, we have a beverage tonight created by our very own PJ over at the Hotel Valley Ho. And so tonight, he is calling it Blast from the Past. So it's basically a champagne cocktail, a little bit of champagne, some lemon peel, a little bit of bitters and some sugar to make the medicine go down. And you know what I love about PJ is he has done such a great job of, he makes it super easy. So all I have to do is pick up my glass, like he gives it to me in a cup. I do that. And look at that. It looks like I toiled oh so long to make that delicious cocktail. So here we have Blast from the Past. So, all right. So now my bartender's job is done. So let me go ahead and take him out of the equation. And so as we move on, so now I want to bring on an oh so special guest. We're going to have so much fun. Oh, hello.
Hello, everybody.
So, Mirelle, tell us about yourself.
Oh, gosh. Well, I'm the art director for a little magazine here in the Valley called Phoenix Magazine, as Marshall might have hinted to earlier before I joined in. I've been doing that gig for about 5 years. Basically, what I do is have a lot of fun, as you saw in the Cleater video. When I'm not doing that, I'm doing layouts, magazine layouts, lots of conceptualizing visuals of whatever the editors tell me they're going to write about. So if they tell me they're going to write about witches, then I get to photograph or illustrate a bunch of witches. So that's a little preview of our next issue that's coming out.
I would say, I feel there's some foreshadowing going on there.
Yeah, that'll be our November/December issue. There'll be a whole feature in there about spiritual, what's the word? Spiritual thinking. There's a whole bunch of different schools. I'm learning. See, I get to learn all this cool stuff as I do this. Stuff I never thought about. Spiritual thinking. There's all kinds of different schools of witchcraft, and I don't even know if that's the right term for it. But at least 2 of the witches that I've spoken with are cool with it. So I'm going to go with it. But there's also the Native American school and all of that.
Right.
But the bulk of my job is just that, being on time, meeting my deadlines, and making words into photos or illustrations or videos.
Exactly. So yeah, so I just thought that was such a fun video. I mean, featuring our own artist, local homegrown boy.
Randy Slatt, yeah.
Indeed, who's coming back for Chaos Theory, I understand. So that'll be kicking off kind of the art scene in October over at Legend City, over on Van Buren. So that'll be a fun night there.
I look forward to that. It's about time.
Indeed, it is.
Mingling with my people.
Right, hanging out till the wee hours of the morning, talking about art and looking at all kinds of amazing art. So looking forward to that.
Very much.
All right. So now one of the things we always do on this show is we do trivia. Now, what's kind of unique about the way we do trivia is we actually talk about the answers. We don't just let you know that, the answer was A and be done with it like a lot of places do. But the fun of it is really that learning piece of where we get to share some of those stories about the answers. So we have, Mirelle has come up with some of really cool, went too far there. All right. So you can keep track of this either on your arm and a magic marker, a pad and a piece of paper, whatever. If you want to keep track of it with a little bit of caramel sauce on some ice cream, it might not last to the end of trivia, but you go right ahead and do that.
Sounds delicious, though.
I know. And then,
ice cream with my trivia tonight.
And you can eat the evidence. So, all right. So our first question, All right. So the third owner of Phoenix Magazine was the late media mogul Bill Phelan, who, before venturing into publishing, founded 3 broadcasting companies and acquired 24 radio stations, including KZZP-FM in Phoenix and KRQ-FM in Tucson. Which resourceful brothers ran one of the earliest radio stations in Phoenix from their mercantile storefront? All right. Was that A, Richard Sloan and Lewis Chalmers? Was it B, Charles and Warren MacArthur? C, Mary Frances Murphy and Tom Whitney? Or D, Herbert Leon Stevenson and Robert A. Craig? So which one of those 2 brothers ran one of the earliest radio stations out of their storefront? All right. Well, while you're thinking about which set of brothers it could be, we're going to go ahead and move on to question 2. All right. This early 8-story Phoenix skyscraper once operated as a brothel and casino. What is the name of this historic building? Was it A, the Professional Building, B, the Lures Tower, C, the Westward Ho, or D, the Security Building? So which one of those buildings that still stands in downtown Phoenix was a skyscraper of its time period, as well as ran as a brothel and casino? All right. Moving on to question 3. What is the name of the multi-talented artist who in 1964 attended Cortez High School and has been featured on the cover of Phoenix Magazine, as well as its sister publication, Phoenix Home and Garden? All right. Was that A, Linda Carter, B, Dick Van Dyke, C, Stevie Nicks, or D, Alice Cooper, or in other words, his original name, Vincent Damon Funier? All right. So which one of those celebrities was featured on the cover of Phoenix Magazine and Phoenix Home and Garden? All right. Moving on to question 4. This saddle-shaped venue is also known as the Madhouse on Mcdowell. Is that A, Phoenix Veterans Memorial Coliseum, B, the Grinnell Memorial Medical Center, C, the Old Spaghetti Factory, or D, the Art Museum? And before we move on to question 5, I'm going to take a little sip.
Yes. Cheers.
Indeed. Cheers. All right. Is that a train I hear in the background?
Oh, yeah. I live right up against Grand Avenue.
Oh.
Downtown Glendale. I'm sorry. It gets rowdy around here.
Actually, no, because sometimes if the clouds are low, I can hear the train from here as well.
Bonkers. Wow.
So yeah, so that's why I wasn't quite sure. It's like, am I hearing that from you or is it from the train down the way? So
well, it's either coming your way or long
or
gone.
coming your way, exactly. So all right. So here we are at that halfway point, question 5. Phoenix Magazine published its first issue in November of 1966. Which legendary nightclub opened its doors that same year? A, the Emerald Lounge, B, the Rhythm Room, C, Nita's Hideaway, or D, Mr. Lucky's? All right, so which one of those venues opened its doors back in 1966? Question 6. Which Valley Olympian retired from their respective sport and opened up an interior design firm named after the venue in which they competed? Pavala Home. All right. Is it A, Michael Phelps, B, Missy Hyman, C, Amy Van Dyken, or D, Ryan O'Meara? All right. So which one of those folks was an Olympic, retired from the Olympia as an Olympian, and then opened up an interior design firm? All right. Question 7. Even death couldn't stop this beloved jokester from taunting his co-star, Pat McMahon. Who is he? A. Bill Thompson. B. Rex Allen. C. Vladimir Kotwas.
Kwiatkowski, I think.
You know, I've never heard anyone say his last name.
Kwiatkowski. I had to YouTube it. I found an old video of a stream of TV news homages when he passed away of people saying his name. That's the only reason I know how to say it. Unfortunately, I wasn't in the Valley when they were on TV, so
right.
I had no clue.
Right.
And I wrote it down in a... Anyways.
All right. Or is it D, Gary Shandling? All right. Oops. So question 8, back in 1970, this finicky gorilla hitched a ride to the Phoenix Zoo on Hugh Hefner's private Playboy jet, playfully dubbed Air Force One. Was that A, Jax, B, Ruby, C, Baltimore Jack, or D, Aja? All right, so which one of those is a finicky gorilla who hitched a ride with Hugh Hefner? All right, question 9. David Hans Schmidt is a self-proclaimed sultan of sleaze, attempted to extort $1.3 million from this A-list celebrity. A, Paris Hilton. B, Pamela Anderson. C, Tom Cruise, or D, Madonna? So which one of those did David try to extort some funds from? And question 10. In the December 2013 issue, the editors of Phoenix Magazine remarked that they'd like to see this former governor's hair run for office. Was that A, George W. E. Hunt, who was known for his hair? B, Fife Symington. C, Bruce Babbitt, or D, Rose Mauford? All right. And so we also have a bit of a bonus question. Oh no, it's gonna get a little gushy content. Oh my gosh. All right. So our bonus question for today is: a painting of Senator John McCain, slated for the cover of Phoenix Magazine, is how Mirelle met the love of her life. Is that true or false? All right. While you are mulling over your answers, we are going to talk a little bit about some Arizona music history. And so we're going to talk about Lou King and the Rangers. Now, he started really hosting a talent show down at the Fox Theater back in the 40s. It then quickly moved to TV, to Channel 5. And soon it was basically, well, he also appeared on radio as well. And there were 200 stations across the country that were airing it on the radio. Now, when kids signed up for this, they would get a Ranger card. They also got a little badge like you saw there, and a sworn obligation to be a good citizen. Now, this show that Lou King put on is said to have launched careers of Tanya Tucker, Marty Robbins, Linda Carter, Linda Day George, Vonda K. Van Dyke, Wayne and Jerry Newton. Now, Wayne is known as Mr. Las Vegas, got his start on the Lou King show. So even though Lou himself didn't necessarily sing a lot, he brought on lots of performers who then made the Valley even more famous. So, all right. So who is ready for some answers? And oh my gosh, we've got some dillies for you today. All right. All right. So that question one. So we were talking about Bill Phelan and how he had put together so many different radio stations, publishing, and all kinds of things. And which resourceful brothers ran one of the earliest radio stations in Phoenix from their storefront? And it's B. Charles and Warren MacArthur. So, Mirelle, what can you tell us about them?
So these guys had so much creativity up their sleeve, apparently. The more I learn about them, the more I'm just blown away. I'm like, when did they have time to do anything but be innovative and do really cool stuff? So anyways, these guys, they started their radio station on June 21st, 1922. It was called KFAD 833 AM. Those call letters was an acronym for Can't Fool a Dodge. It was a nod to a Dodge truck that these brothers converted to a sleeper RV, which ultimately launched the Wonderbus tours of the Sonoran Desert and became the catalyst for the Arizona Biltmore. When they realized tourism was a thing here, that just blows my mind. So they had these future politicians who were announcers on the radio station, including Jack Williams, J. Howard Pyle, and Barry Goldwater. Another little side note on that. I lost my place on my notes. I'm sorry. Well, I guess it's not as important, but if you're curious, previous owners of Phoenix Magazine were Ken Welsh and his wife, Anita. They were the founders. They had a little help from their friend, Carl Eller, who co-founded the Phoenix Suns, and Bill Lewis of Mac Media. Little fun tidbit there.
Well, yeah. And I mean, also the MacArthur brothers, I mean, they wound up building the Arizona Biltmore.
Right. Yep.
Warren was the architect, and they're the ones who lured Frank Lloyd Wright here.
I didn't know that. I'm not surprised.
So, yeah.
Those guys had it going on.
They did indeed, and changed the valley landscape forever.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
All right. So this 8-story skyscraper once operated as a brothel and casino. Which building was it? D, the securities building. So I know they ran into money troubles when they were building it, and that's why they then brought in the guy who was then making it into a brothel casino. Right.
So they just before completion, they ran out of funds. It was an LA firm apparently, and so to raise the money they needed, they decided they are going to run a casino and a brothel, in secret in the penthouse at the top of the building. Kind of went off with a hitch until one of the ladies of the night fell from one of the windows and landed before the only occupant, I think, of the building, which happened to be a lawyer. The whole operation ended the very next day, but they were still able to raise the money they needed, and the building obviously was completed. Another interesting thing that I read, and I'm not sure if it's true, was that they actually approached the governor at the time for permission to do that. And they said, and the governor at the time, forgive me, I don't remember the name, said, by the time you'll get caught, we do things so slow around here. He said something to the effect of, by the time you get caught, you'll be done. So go ahead and do it. Don't quote me on that last part, but I thought that was a kind of funny thing to add there. So that's that. The building's located on Central Avenue and Van Buren Street. If you haven't seen it, it's still there and it's glorious.
It is. I mean, it's an amazing building. It's now owned by the county. So they used to do a lot of stuff up on that penthouse.
Oh, wow.
A variety of because at one point AESU had access to that, so they would do all kinds of community events up there.
Cool.
So
I've never been inside, just admired from a distance. So I'll have to.
But I love you can still look in through the windows and see that original lobby with those amazing elevators.
Oh man, I gotta go by.
Yeah, still such a beautiful building inside and out.
Cool. Grateful to have it. We need more of those to stick around.
I completely agree with you. All right, so question 3. A multi-talented artist that attended Cortez High School has been on the cover of Phoenix Magazine as well as Phoenix Home and Garden. And it is D. Alice Cooper.
Alice Cooper. Oh, did I forget to put the photos of him on the cover? I'm sorry. Yeah, he's been on the cover of Phoenix Home and Garden and Phoenix Magazine. Both in person on Phoenix Home and Garden. I think his home was on the cover about a year ago, and he was on the cover back in the 80s. Darn it, I'm going to have to email those over to you, Marshall, so you can post them on your Facebook, because they're really cool shots. I don't know what I was thinking with this photo, but anyways, I mean, he did look shockingly different, so that I guess it's cool in that respect. But anyways, this guy, I think everybody in Phoenix that's ever met him has a story about him being super nice, super chivalrous, super generous. Like, I've never heard a bad word said about him, and all, the stories I've heard. And I was going on a road trip photo shoot to Holbrook, where they have the Wigwam Motel. It was about a 3-hour drive. It was with the model, and we started talking about, well, she actually had a background in entertainment. And I asked her, well, who was the coolest celebrity you've ever met? And we started talking about that. She says, well, actually, it wasn't because of my job. It was because when I worked at the mall at Z Gallery, Alice Cooper went in there and spent about 3 hours with her, apparently decorating a room as a surprise to his wife. And he said he was very gracious. And then when she got up to the checkout counter, the manager rolled up and kind of tried to nudge her out of the way. And he was astute enough to realize what might be happening with, commission. And he said, I've been working with her for about 3 hours now. She's done a very good job. I'd love to continue the transaction with her. Not exact words, but, same meaning. Alas, the manager stepped aside and she got commission, and she was kind of young and on hard times a lot, struggling making ends meet. And that transaction paid her rent for 3 months.
Wow.
And I told her before this ride, I had never met Alice Cooper in person. I said, well, if I ever get to meet him, I'll tell him thank you on your behalf if you don't see him first. And lo and behold, about a year later, I got to meet him, and I actually told him that story. And I don't know if he remembered, but he says, wow, that's really cool. I'm so glad I was able to help her out. And he was just so gracious to hear it. And he said, thank you for telling me that. It means a lot. So cool. What a cool mofo, man. I'm so glad he's part of our community. Plus, he runs this Teen Solid Rock Foundation that lets kids come and learn instruments and paint and, theatrical dancing. Any art, I think they pretty much offer there. And it's of no charge to kids that just need something to do and need a creative outlet and keep them out of trouble and keep their brains going and, learning about themselves and discovering their artistic abilities. So, man, if there's anything in the world, I think everybody needs some sort of artistic outlet, and I think we'd all be better off. He's doing his part. He's doing good by his celebrity.
Indeed, he is. All right, question 4. So what venue is known as the Madhouse on Mcdowell? And it's one of my favorite buildings, that Veterans Memorial Coliseum on the Arizona State Fairgrounds.
Yay. That's so cool. That building's just incredible. So really all I have to say about this, I mean, I'm sure there's many stories that came out of that thing. I think like the Donald Trump recount is happening right now. Sure. But for the December 2013 issue of Phoenix Magazine, one of the editors posed the question to then Mayor Phoenix Mayor Greg Stanton, what does he consider classic Phoenix? And his response was, I used to see professional wrestling matches there as a teenager, and Van Halen in 1984 when they still had David Lee Roth. And the Phoenix Suns games were $6, and you could get a coupon in the Phoenix Gazette. So, and that's classic Phoenix. That's what he had to say about that. So I love that.
Indeed. And I love that it's on the fairgrounds and that the fair is still happening right there, starting in October. So looking forward to getting a chance to go to the state fair and seeing what concerts they have going on in there, getting a chance to go inside the Coliseum.
Yeah,
or just take the sky ride so I can look at it. So that's become my annual tradition, is always just getting on the sky ride and just looking at that beautiful building.
I'm so lucky because I do live off of Grand. On my commute in the morning, I get to pass by it every time I head into the office.
Oh, nice.
And I do stare. I'm like, what's going on over there now? Do they have the rides yet?
Or is it still the Chinese, the World of Lights things? I know those were kind of on the back lot forever.
Oh gosh, I haven't seen them, but you know what? I wouldn't even know to identify them. Don't even know what they look like. I missed that one.
Okay. All right. So first off, I think it's pretty amazing that Phoenix Magazine, their first issue was November of 1966. That's incredible. All right. Which legendary nightclub also opened its doors that very same year? Mr. Lucky's.
Another Grand Avenue staple.
Indeed, still standing.
Every time I pass that darn sign, I just smile. I can't be in a bad mood and pass that damn sign. That thing better never go away. I'll be pissed if it does. But let's see. According to the Arizona Music Hall of Fame.org, Phoenix businessman Bob Sikora built and operated what initially was thought to become Arizona's first gambling casino. But when the state of Arizona vetoed the idea of casinos, Mr. Lucky's reverted to a nightclub featuring country music upstairs and rock and roll downstairs. That's so freaking cool. Local legends like Waylon Jennings, Marty Robbins, Dierks Bentley, all headlined, along with people like Willie Nelson, Wanda Jackson, one of my boyfriend's favorites, Lyle Lovett, and others. Friday nights were also very popular because they had a fish fry and talent shows. One of those talent contest winners was Jordan Sparks. And
I didn't realize that.
I didn't either. This was such a great project.
I love that Mr. Lucky's, because so many folks have come up and said that Mr. Lucky's, they went there as kids and so those fish fries were oh so family friendly.
Exactly. Yeah. So they got a whole broad demographic, all ages, all music. I think you could fit into any one of those musical types, rock and roll, country.
Right.
What a cool freaking place. I wish I had been able to experience it. But if you ever want a little taste of it, they do a fish fry and a Back to Mr. Lucky's night at Handlebar J in Scottsdale on Wednesdays.
With I think David J. Sloan playing. And his
yeah. And David Sloan was an owner. He was probably the most recent owner, do you think?
He was also the headliner band there for quite a while as well.
Right.
So, yeah.
Yeah. So it's pretty close, pretty darn close. I've been to that, and it's fun. It's a hootenanny and a half, but I loved it. And I just hope, Mr. Lucky sticks around and maybe comes back.
And I know it's for sale, so...
Anybody rich out there want to bring some liveliness back?
Exactly, and have one of the most amazing signs in Arizona. All right. So which Valley Olympian retired from their sport and opened up an interior design firm? And that was D. Ryan O'Meara.
Ryan O'Meara. He was an ice dancer, was his classification, if you will. Not an ice skater, an ice dancer. Anyways, he's such a cool dude. Together with his ice dancing partner, Jamie Silverstein, O'Meara placed 19th at the Winter Olympics in Torino in 2006. Since his retirement, O'Meara's work has appeared on the cover of Phoenix Home and Garden, as you saw, and inside the pages of Phoenix Magazine and others. Lots of other local magazines and probably even international magazines or national magazines as well. And because he is a solid friend, he has also loaned out unique items such as taxidermy birds, tables, and chairs for photo shoots. He's awesome. You've probably seen his work and didn't even realize it.
Indeed. All right. So even in death, this person couldn't stop being a jokester and taunting their co-star, Pat McMahon. Who is it? Bill Thompson.
I freaking love this story. And I was lucky enough that Pat McMahon actually told it to me in person once. And I just died laughing. I can't believe the humor and like just being able to think this way when you're on your deathbed. But I'll try to paraphrase this as much as possible. Bill Thompson, who played Wallace and Ladmo in the series, which lasted from 1954 to 1989, one of the longest series in broadcasting history. Okay, sorry, I skipped ahead. Anyways, during Thompson's memorial service, Pat McMahon, who played Gerald in the series, was going to give a eulogy. Well, Bill caught wind of this, and for the November 2014 issue of Phoenix Magazine, Pat McMahon recalled, and I quote, "I was approached by a woman at the service named Alana, who I remembered managed the Wallace and Ladmo souvenir booth at the Arizona State Fair. And she said she was on a mission from Wallace. She said Bill Thompson, called her into hospice with a request shortly before he passed away. He told her, 'I'm sure you're going to this event I know they're planning,' says McMahon, who, following the passing of Ladmo in 1994, was the sole surviving member of the show's comic trio. Do me this one last favor. Call Bert Easley's Fun Shop. Tell him I sent you so they don't charge you. Get a Grim Reaper costume. The night they're doing this event, I want you to put it on, go in there, and follow Pat everywhere he goes.'" Freaking awesome. Well, the plan was foiled because somebody at the door said it was in bad taste and people might misunderstand it. But Pat McMahon says that he would have certainly known what was behind the joke and wished that she was able to carry out his last wishes. So,
Aw, that's such a beautiful story.
Oh my gosh, what a cool guy. I just wish
I can only imagine what the sets for Wallace and Ladmo must have been like. Oh my gosh, the stories that I've heard are just incredible.
Oh, can you imagine? Like, I would have like abs of steel by laughing so hard constantly around those guys. Just from what little bit I know. And I know there's wells of stories and episodes and
right. I mean, everyone's got a story. I mean, there are people who are still holding grudges they didn't get a Ladmo bag.
I want a Ladmo bag. What the heck was in those things? Everybody wanted one.
I think it was just because you got something and it was yours and it was full of candy and stuff. So, and coupons and fun things like that. So, I mean, they were staples for so many generations and influenced children and even Alice Cooper. I mean,
he was on one of their shows.
Well, he basically started, he started a kind of parody band based on, they were doing Hubcap and the Wheels, which was a parody band. So he kind of got the idea from them. And so that's what launched even Alice Cooper back with the Spiders, or even, I think it was the Earwigs was his first band. So yeah.
Incredible.
So, I mean, everyone's got a great Wallace and Ladmo story, or not. They either got a Ladmo bag and rave about it, or they didn't get one and are still to this day bitter about it.
It'll be on their epitaph.
I mean, it's just one of those things that is part of just kind of that Valley fabric that is always kind of there.
Man, I missed out a good chunk of Arizona history.
I know, and that's why if you go down, the old Channel 5 studios actually has a big mural of the Wallace and Ladmo show on it, because that's where they filmed.
I've seen it. That's such a great mural. Do you know the artist that did that?
That was Hugo.
Oh, cool. I never knew that.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I'll have to give him some props next time I see him.
Indeed. All right. So back in 1970, a finicky gorilla hitched a ride to the zoo on Hugh Hefner's private Playboy jet. And it was C. Baltimore Jack.
Baltimore Jack. What a stud, huh?
Indeed.
So here's the story on that. When Robert Maytag of the appliance fame opened Maytag Zoo, as it was formerly called, in 1962, Hazel the gorilla was a favorite among visitors. She had a male companion named Mongo, but they never mated. When Mongo died in 1969, the Phoenix Zoo began looking for a new mate for Hazel in hopes of filling her habitat with cute baby gorillas. In a nutshell, they chose Jack, a lonely gorilla in the Baltimore City Zoo, who had been taken from Africa in 1954. The blind date was set. Oh my gosh. The Arizona Air National Guard initially offered to provide free transportation for the 6'3" gorilla, but somehow that was against regulations. I won't go through all of that. But so anyways, Hefner was friends with actress Amanda Blake, who was on Gunsmoke, Miss Kitty on Gunsmoke.
Right, and she was, and she lived here.
Huge animal advocate. She even, I think, had some zoo animals on her property in Arcadia. But anyways, she went to her film company or her producers or whoever paid her and said, "Hey, guys, help us out. You know, we have this gorilla we want to make." Well, they would only they could offer $300 or $3,500, which wasn't enough or something like that. And it was way out of their budget. So no, the zoo couldn't afford that. They couldn't afford the $3,500 fee. So ultimately, Blake turned to Hugh Hefner and said, "Hey, could you use your Playboy jet and fly this gorilla from Baltimore to Phoenix, please?" And Hefner jumped on the opportunity. Apparently, when they landed here, they got more fanfare than the president at the time, which was, oh gosh, I keep losing my place. Richard Nixon, right? I'm sorry. Okay. Anyways, huge fanfare when they arrived here. And sadly, gorillas, being as picky as they are, they never mated. Observers meticulously detailed what they played with, their diets, and any hints of attraction, but in the end, it was all for naught. Arizona is considered to be the vast desert, and Baltimore Jack the gorilla is considered by some to be the one vast disappointment. A Sun reporter wrote Baltimore Jack died of pneumonia in 1972. That's not funny, just the fact that I pronounced the P. The following year, Hazel was transported to the San Diego World Wildlife Park in a van on Halloween night. She mated with a gorilla there named Trib and became pregnant. In 1964, Hazel was being transported back to Phoenix from San Diego in a U-Haul van, which was pulled over for speeding outside Gila Bend. When the driver informed the highway patrolman he was in a hurry to get a gorilla to Phoenix, the wide-eyed officer responded, "So you mean you have Hazel in there?" According to Arizona, the quarterly publication for the Arizona Zoological Society, which operates the Phoenix Zoo. She gave birth to a male named Fabio in 1975. I'm going to leave this out because we know they all die, so I don't need to say that.
Right, and so my friend, Anita, who watches the show, says Amanda Blake also had big cats.
Yes.
So she was a huge animal rights advocate.
Thank you for that tidbit. I appreciate that. Major
Indeed. All right. So David Hans Schmidt, self-proclaimed Sultan of Sleaze, attempted to extort money from what A-list celebrity? Tom Cruise.
Good old Tomcat. So the story goes, this ran in our October 07 issue, which was kind of important time-wise. You'll see why if you don't already know. He spent much of his stretch in the valley in and out of jail. The unapologetic David Hans Schmidt became America's go-to guy when it came to brokering racy celebrity photos and videos, with subjects including Jennifer Flowers, Colin Farrell, Paris Hilton, Tanya Harding, and the guy who played Screech from Saved by the Bell. But when the hard drive containing the confidential photos of the wedding of Tom Cruise and Katie Holmes crashed, the recovery expert realized what he had and saved copies, with the intent of finding Schmidt to make himself a lucrative deal. Ultimately, Schmidt was busted on July 24th, 2007, after a meeting with an undercover cop for an attempt to extort $1.3 million from Tomcat. But before he could even be sentenced, he was found dead in his home. It was ruled a suicide by hanging. It's really sad. But another random tidbit is we had wrote the story. Writer David Lebowitz spent a lot of time with him, interviewing him and talking about him. And we had a photographer out there. And sometime between the press and newsstand dates of that story, David Hans Schmidt demanded a retraction of the feature. And one email specifically, the subject line read, "Kill story," towards the writer, David Lebowitz. And then, said, "There'll be a holy fucking war," pardon my French, "a holy effing war, if you publish that story." As well as he called every number I think he could find on the internet or in the phone book of people that worked at Phoenix Magazine, staff, advertising reps, secretaries. Like, we had a much bigger staff back then, and I wasn't even working at Phoenix Magazine there. I was working in the ad department for Phoenix Home and Garden. He somehow got my direct line, and I don't know what's going on. He's just yelling in my ear, "Let me talk to your editor. I need to talk to your editor. You retract that fucking story, or else you guys are going to be sued. I'm going to sue you. I'm a powerful man." Like, those weren't his exact words, obviously. I don't remember, but they were very threatening. And I said, "Well, you're talking to the wrong person, but I can give," at the time it was it was Ashley Deal. I can give Ashley Deal a message for you. And that was that. I mean, like, we were all shocked when I think it was not even a week or two later, we got the news that he had passed away the way that he did. So it's kind of
wow.
Crazy.
Indeed. That is such a crazy story.
Yeah. So I'll never forget that. It was like my first awakening, like, wow, journalism.
I really imagine picking up the phone and just having someone yelling at you and you're like, you have no idea what's going on.
Yeah. I had no idea who he was or what was going on. But I happened to be in the office when I got that call. This is kind of before I had cell phone, I think, even. Me anyways, if I did, it was like a cricket, nothing like I have now. But the editor could overhear me talking and was like, just hang up, it's, the guy's crazy.
Wow.
So it might have been Robert Steve. I don't remember the editor. But I do remember Adam Klowan. He was the managing editor at the time, and he was the one that was standing over by my desk when I was on that phone call.
All right. And so from that to then, what politician in Arizona had the most remarkable hair? That would be Rose Mauford, without a doubt.
Look at that wispy thing. Oh my gosh. So Rose Mauford, such an interesting person, man. I would have loved to meet her too. Anyways, while this longtime public servant and softball champion stayed active throughout her days, volunteering for charities and keeping her hand in the political game, Mauford is perhaps best remembered for her fabulous white beehive. This is actually according to the New Phoenix New Times. She was once drawn by a local political cartoonist as a Dairy Queen cone. Oh my God, that's so perfect. And in the 1940s, Mauford played on the Queens softball team, which were promoted as America's most beautiful athletes. Anyways, needless to say, they were more than just pretty faces. Some members of her team that were pictured in the one photo went on to compete as an all-star pitcher in 1947. Another one was featured on Ripley's Believe It or Not cartoon after pitching 2 consecutive extra inning shutout games. And then obviously, needless to say, Mauford, who played in the 1939 squad, went on to become governor and was reunited with the team in the 1980s, and that's where that photo was taken. That issue, or that photo, was from the December 2013 issue of Phoenix Magazine.
Nice.
Oh, I love their pastels. The one on the far left was the one that got the record in the 1980s photo.
I would believe that.
And you can obviously tell who Rose is, I think. You cannot be incognito with that hair.
Right, because, well, she used to get her hair done at Venus Salon, which is now the Parlor Pizza.
Are you? No, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Wow.
So that's where she'd always go to get her hair done, was that salon.
Cool. Well, now I have another reason to go to Parlor more often. I love
Exactly.
that.
So that's why I love that they still have the beauty chairs in the back.
Incredible. And in the women's bathroom, too, they have one.
See, I've never been in there, so I didn't know that.
I'll take a picture for you.
Oh, please do.
So cool.
All right. So now we have our gushy segment coming up. All right. So true or false, you met your true love because of a painting of John McCain.
Yes, this is true. This is absolutely true. You get love when you least expect it. It's absolutely true in this case. And here's the story. This is very morbid, but in the months leading up to the imminent passing of Senator McCain, I turned to Phoenix art gallerist and veteran rioter Robert Pella, seeking an Arizona artist who could create a fine art likeness of McCain while also integrating some cool, tasteful, surreal aspects, to keep it fresh and less stodgy, to grace the cover. He knew just the talent. So over the course of the next few months, we went back and forth with conceptual sketches and ideas, and Robert was the go-between. But when it became time to deliver the finished piece to the Phoenix Magazine office, something came up and Robert wasn't able to make it. So he asked the artist to deliver the painting himself. Unbeknownst to me, I was wearing like my worst clothes, like dirty hair, everything. Well, that artist was Eric Cox. And his piece appeared on the cover of the special John McCain commemorative issue in October of 2018. And that right there in the middle is the piece I'm talking about. And that's him on the cover of City Guide with a model named Mackenzie Gossage. She's the daughter of Barry Gossage. She was the staff photographer for Phoenix Suns, just another random tidbit. And there he is, John McCain on the right, modeling an outfit from a local store. Don't remember what store that was. It'd be cool if it was Hanny's or something. And I believe the woman next to him is also a politician of the day. That was, darn it, I didn't write down the issue date, but I bet I could tell you right here.
I'm going to say it looks very 80s.
Definitely 80s.
I mean, by that dress she's wearing.
Yeah, it definitely came out in an 80s issue. I'll have to go back to work and give you that information because I know I wrote it down, but I think I accidentally threw away my note. That bugs me so bad. Darn it. But yeah, it was definitely 1980s issue, probably mid 80s. So he's kind of a multi-talented dude, model.
Indeed. So, Mirelle, thank you so much for coming on. I didn't realize that Phoenix Magazine had been publishing since late 66. That's pretty incredible.
Cool. Yeah. Thank you for having me. I really enjoyed this, doing this. I learned so much about Phoenix and Phoenix Magazine and all these little side stories that kind of intertwine. It's incestuous, but in a really cool way, and everybody I think everybody is connected somehow. I think everybody's got a story or has a relative or a friend or somebody who's a big part of Arizona history that they can talk about and celebrate and share, and keep
Right.
the Valley spirit strong,
Right. And so I love that people already kind of know. It's like, what the next question is, how did you do? So I see Sarah got 6 out of 11. Jeff got 3 out of 11. But I always tell them, it doesn't really matter what oh, wow. And look at Leslie getting 8 out of 11. You go,
Nice.
Leslie.
Nice job.
So, but I mean, what I love is the fact that it's not how many you get right, but it's now these amazing stories.
Yeah. Well, now you know too.
Right. I mean, and so now I know if the Grim Reaper starts following me around, I'm going to blame Pat McMahon on it.
So clever. So clever.
Indeed. So thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
And have a great rest of your night.
Thanks. You as well, Marshall. See you around.
All right. Have a good one.
Bye.
Bye. Oh my gosh. That was so much fun. Thank you, Mirelle, so much for coming on and sharing some of the amazing Phoenix Magazine stories. Yeah, I agree, Anita. Learned so much as well. And I also know that I'm not good on any ice, so I don't want to be an ice skater nor an ice dancer. Those are 2 careers I will never follow up on. So again, thank you all so much. And now you'll see why you should share because of all the fun stories that we're sharing. All right. So as we round out our evening, now, if you want to stick around, I actually have a 60s commercial from Goodyear Tire as kind of our little outro. So that's going to be really cool. I figured, let's find something to kind of highlight the fact that I'm going to be out in Goodyear talking about some cool stuff just next week. So, I love advertising things. And so this is a little bank booty that I'm assuming is blue. I don't know if they would have had a pink version of this. So basically it's a bank you can see from the bottom, and it came from Valley National Bank as a way to, I'm sure, save money for your child. I don't know if they just used one color for everyone. I've never seen a pink one. I've seen the blue one around, but I love this kind of stuff. These little plastic giveaways that were really just ephemera that weren't really meant to last very long. And yet here it is as an homage to also all those copper clad shoes that you would find as bookends and things like that. So next week we have Vic Lenhoff coming up as our guest, and he is going to talk about all kinds of kind of nefarious things going on as we get ready for October. So, which we're going to have an amazing month. So we've got some really great guests planned for that. So that's going to be oh so much fun as we get ready to start talking about that. And so we will have Vic next week, same bat time, Thursday night at 7:00. And remember, I always love to hear from you. And so please share your stories, questions you have. Here's how you can reach out to me. So, I'm going to leave you all with a little bit of something called Goodyear Wide Boots, which is a 60s ad from Goodyear Tire. So enjoy, everyone, and have a great rest of your night.
What are the hot cars wearing this year? Boots. Wide boots, GT tires from Goodyear.
These boots are made for rolling wherever cars are hot. Wide boots GT from Goodyear. What sports cars need, they've got.
Check the specs. Built low and wide like racing tires. Low cord angle. 4 plies polyester cord. Track tested at 130.
These boots are made for rolling wherever cars are hot. Wide boots GT from Goodyear. What sports cars need, they've got.
If you drive a high-performance car, you need Goodyear's finest high-performance tire.